Hello, and welcome to today's lesson on English word formation processes. We all use them on a regular basis, whether being conscious of it or not. As native speakers of English, it may go unnoticed most of the time. However, anyone who has ever had to undergo the arduous task of learning a new language will tell you that not every word has a direct translation from language to language. For example, the Russian word "голубой" would be translated as blue in English. This, however, is incorrect since literally "голубой" means light blue, for which there is no single word in English. "Голубой" could also be literally translated as homosexual, which if used in the wrong context with the wrong person could get you into a lot of trouble. In such a case, we say there is a lexical gap in English for the word "голубой." Aside from lexical gaps being present from language to language, lexical gaps can also exist within a language. English, for example. English speakers are constantly creating new words. Why? Most often this is done because there is an idea or a concept that a speaker may find difficult to express using any of their previously known vocabulary. There are several English word formation processes that English speakers use in order to accomplish this. Among these processes are combining, shortening, blending, functional shifts, acorns, and reduplication. We're going to start today's lesson with combining. Combining morphemes, or the smallest meaningful units of language, is the most productive way to make new words in English. Combining processes include compounding, prefixing, infixing, and suffixing. Let's start with compounding. Most students are taught in elementary school that a compound is a word that is composed of more than one stem or part of a word. Compounding is the word formation process used to construct these compound lexemes, a fancy word for word. Compounding has been around since the times of Old English and still presents itself in everyday modern-day English. Here are some common examples of compounds. Bookshelf. The free morphemes book and shelf combine to express the stack of shelves we use to organize literature. The free morphemes star and fish combine to create the word starfish. I think you get the point. Let's move on to prefixation. Prefixation is the process of forming a new word by attaching a bound morpheme to the head of an already existing word. For example, the prefix "un" combines with the verb "do" to create "do's" opposite, undo. Re attaches to the front of the verb "do" to express the repetition of doing something. Other examples include the de in decompress, the dis in disadvantage, the semi in semicircle, the counter in counteract, and moving on to infixation. An infix is an affix which is incorporated inside another word. In English, the only words that can be infixed inside another word are expressive words used to intensify meaning. The most common infixes can be used in this way: abso-bleeping-lutely or fan-bleeping-tastic. But there are more polite rated G infixes too, like the frigging in halla-frigging-luya and the flipping in unbeflipping-leavable. On to our next combining process, suffixation. Suffixation is the process of attaching a bound morpheme to the foot of an already existing word. In this example, our already existing word is the word smurf, and the suffix is "et" to make the smurf feminine. The able at the end of agreeable is also a suffix, as is the dom at the end of kingdom. On to our next English word formation category, shortening. Shortening is the process of shortening already existing words in order to form new words. There are 4 methods of shortening: alphabetism, acronymy, clipping, and back formation. Alphabetism is when a word is formed out of the initials of a phrase and the resulting initials are pronounced as that sequence of letters. A commonly used set of initials formed through the use of alphabetism is the phrase "by the way," which is then shortened into BTW or BTW. The phrase "too much information" can be shortened into the initials TMI in order to more efficiently inform somebody that they are sharing way too much information. American Sign Language is commonly abbreviated by the initials ASL. There are several examples of alphabetism we use in our everyday lives, none of which should be confused with acronymy. Acronymy is when a group of words is shortened into initials and then the initials are pronounced not like they are individual letters like in alphabetism, but as though they're the actual word itself. This process saves speakers a lot of time. For example, instead of saying, "I wore a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus when I went on vacation," you can just say that you went scuba diving. Instead of saying, "I thoroughly enjoy watching the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing," you can just say, "I like watching NASCAR." And the people for the ethical treatment of animals more commonly refer to themselves as PETA. The next word formation process we'll be looking at is clipping. Clipping is when a word loses an element of itself. There are 2 types of clipping, foreclipping and hindclipping. When the head of the word is clipped off, it is known as foreclipping. For example, the word internet is oftentimes shortened by removing the first half of the word, leaving behind the clipped word net. The word alligator is also oftentimes shortened to just gator, which still refers to the scaly green reptile that will eat you if given the chance. Telephone also undergoes foreclipping when speakers leave off the front of the word, leaving just the base word phone behind. The second type of clipping is known as hind clipping, which is when the end of the word is clipped off. For instance, clipping of the last 3 letters in the word doctor, leaving behind doc. Mathematics is more commonly referred to as math, and submarine is more commonly called a sub, whether you're talking about a submarine boat or a submarine sandwich. Next, we will look at bag formation. Bag formation is the least common method of shortening. It is the process of creating a new lexeme by removing an actual or a supposed affix from a word to create a new word. Supposed affix, you ask? Yes, supposed. The affix removed from the original word is not always a true affix. For example, the OR ending in the noun editor is removed to create the verb edit. This is a supposed affix because originally the word editor came from the Latin language. This word edit was created using the logic that a farmer farms, a writer writes, and so an editor must edit. Other examples include the word burgle from the word burglar and the word diagnose from the word diagnosis. Now that we've covered shortening, let's move on to blending. This word formation process involves joining 2 or more words together and clipping at least one of those words in the process. This formula depicts how blending typically works. The ending of the first word is clipped off while the beginning of the second word is clipped off, resulting in a blend of the 2 words composed of the first half of the first word and the second part of the second word. The beginning letters in breakfast and the last letters of the word lunch combine to form the word brunch. Another common blend is the combination of the word brother and romance to create the blend bromance. The word gay and the ending letters of the word radar combine to form the blend gaydar. We've all used blends at some point. Functional shifts are another very common word formation process. A functional shift is when a word formation as one part of speech is used to function as another part of speech. For example, the word Google. Google began as a noun for the search engine many use on a regular basis. Over time, Google has also become a verb, as in, I Googled myself online in class today. Another functional shift example is the word email. Email started out as a noun used to describe online mail, as in, I'm going to check my email. Now it is used both as a noun and as a verb. One can email their homework, email a complaint, or email a letter, as in, I will email you the information tomorrow. A less common, yet no less fun word formation process is the acorn. An acorn is a public misunderstanding of a word that becomes normalized over time. For example, the word acorn itself was originally acorn, but was mispronounced so often that we now call this process of word misunderstanding acorn. Another example of an acorn is duct tape, which is very commonly mispronounced as duct tape. Yes, that's right, as in the bird. Alzheimer's disease is often mispronounced as old-timers disease. Yes, it does usually affect those in their later years, but this is still incorrect. The last word formation process on the agenda for today is reduplication. This is the formation of a new word by repetition of a morpheme. Many reduplicated forms are common of baby talk, such as boo-boo and mama. Some are slang words, such as the term yada yada yada, commonly used on Seinfeld. Others include rhyming elements, such as Humpty Dumpty. Other forms of reduplication alter a vowel, such as in the words tick-tock or knick-knack. Well, this completes today's lesson on English word formation processes. Thanks for watching.